All my life I've been rather unorthodox. By the time I was a junior in high school, I was completely over it. Mainly because I felt that the majority of people around me were searching for who they wanted to be or what they wanted to do, and I already knew. I was the kid in this very bedroom producing albums, mixtapes, EPs, projects in general, skipping school because I thought that finishing a song at 7 o'clock in the morning and then sleeping was way better than going to history class with Ms. Garrow. Needless to say, those kind of choices aren't always met with encouragement. But anything that you love and makes you happy, you have to stand firm in. You have to possess qualities like fortitude, patience, persistence, belief. My mind is warped is what I'm trying to say. And over time, who I was personally transferred into who I was musically once I found my identity and my sound. I hear things different because I believe things different. But most times, the first draft is admittedly trash.
Although my troubles might run, better do it right by blood. Don't keep your eyes wide shut, never know when die might come. What a bam bam. Oh no, my tribe no chatter. Oh no, my heart no wonder. What a bam bam. Even though my eyes my water, even though my eyes my water.
Okay, well, yuck. I assume that most people after recording a take like that would reconsider the whole song. Not this guy though. Instead, I choose to be vulnerable. I like to send my songs out to my friends who are artists themselves. Sending my demos to my friends is an exercise in trust. I trust them to take into consideration that I am batshit crazy. But the question is, where do we go from there? How do we turn a concept and a demo record and not get tired of it or give up on it and see its potential all the way through to a final product that is polished, is beautiful, and also you can be proud of? Okay, so I want to show you guys what my desktop looks like for the session. So the song has gone through a whole bunch of changes since its 2017 demo recording. And one of those changes is the fact that this used to be a sample of Sade Adu's No Ordinary Love. The pads, same thing goes with the bass as well. So if you play those two together, you can actually hear the resemblance of Sade Adu's No Ordinary Love. I had Buddha come through to the studio, and I guess somewhere in the plans was, just to have him record the lyrics to No Ordinary Love. I can't remember what mind frame I was in that made me want to do that, but knowing me, it was probably one of those things where, hey, just sing this. And I'd just rather have things to work with than have nothing at all. Luckily for me, I did that. And what happened afterwards was I reversed the samples. And the drum pattern is the same as the No Ordinary Love record. Same kick, same snare, same hi-hat pattern. So you reverse the bass and the pads and you time stretch it. And that together with the drums sound a little something like this. So after that, it was pretty much time to start building the drum pattern. And I'll show you really, really quick what the pattern alone sounds like. It's a really simple 4-bar loop. Mix that in with the reverse instrument sounds and the reverse drum pattern, and this is what you have. One of the things that I've been blessed in learning after all these years when it comes to my music, and shout out to New Memo, because when I originally met him, he put me on game to, how songs should be arranged, that You want to make every part of the record feel like its own special moment if it calls for that. I remember early on in the beginning, he would do small things such as, okay, well, we're going to add a piano here for the second verse that you can only hear in the second verse. And he's done things like that ever since. But that was one of the things that he taught me originally. And I picked up on it after a while. So you notice a lot of accents that happen in the song, like the toms, for example, they only come in during the hook. You have it like, what's up, bum bum? So I had him mimic the hook, and it only comes out during the hook, along with the what chants, which I found pretty cool, because, you know, this whole song has this, I don't know, it has this chant vibe that I was really trying to dig into, because it sounds to me like a raid almost. Okay, so you mix all that in. There's even a nice little police scanner here / helicopter sound that I added just to add some ambiance. Because truth be told, you know, if you're turning a demo into a final record, you want to add a lot of accents. At least that's what I do. That's the way my mind works, right? So if I think about what the song needs, I think about, okay, well, what are we talking about in the record? What is the color palette of the song? Because I see songs in colors. What is this beat telling me? Is it aggressive? Is it chill? Is it laid back? You know, like, let's say if it's a chill song, if it calls for it, you might want to add some seagulls in the background. As weird as that sounds, I've heard people do it before. I've heard it on Childish Gambino records when he was making Kawhi. So you want to have these drum patterns, these melodies, these instruments, these extra little small cool things here in your record. So that way you can accentuate the details. This here is behind the scenes footage of me.
Did you turn off the light?
Buddha and Derek Aurelius at Prep Sound Studios.
I feel you.
And
nothing wrong with that.
He's about to egg me on right now because that's our relationship. No, I'm telling him I can't hear anything, and he's gonna take advantage of that.
Lick asshole.
Example A.
How does booty taste?
And example B. I love this guy. We have a very special relationship. We've been making music together since we were 16. He's somebody that just gets it. And I think just years of being around each other and spending countless nights mixing audio and writing verses and singing hooks. He understands most times when I present an idea to him. Even if he doesn't get it, he meets me where I need to be at.
9 o'clock enough. You dig a little deeper. 9 o'clock enough. 9 o'clock enough.
Buddha's ear is so fantastic. He's very particular and specific when it comes to creating his own music. So he's a great hand to have in the studio. Add that to the fact that he's known me for so long, and there's a connection there that goes beyond words. You know, it helps, and I think that's one of the ways that you turn a demo into a full-fledged record, right? So you send it to people whose ear you trust, and, you know, they give you feedback and information about things that you might be able to do, especially if they know you so well. So I think sharing is a big part of what I do, at least when it comes to elevating a record to where it needs to go. Because, you know, I can't explain everything that's in my mind most of the time, but I think my friends have a pretty good idea of where I'm trying to take it. And shout out to Derek Aurelius, who's also one of those people, you know, that I trust in sending things. And, you know, here I am at the studio at Prep Sound, and I'm rarely in a quote-unquote official studio. I'm usually home making records because there's just a magic here and a trust here that I've developed with myself. You know, and at the end of the day, what I did was I took these vocals and I brought them back home to engineer them myself. So really, I was just using the space to record rather than mix. So I'm sorry, Leftary, for putting you through that. I even took the opportunity in this session to make sure that Buddha laid down a reworked version of the hook that I originally had in the demo because Lord knows that was horrible, and I would never be able to pull off that tone. But once again, trust with the people who believe in you and have known you very, very well. Buddha actually came to my home studio and he laid down his version of it. And originally, my mind is always, you come in here, whatever we do is final. Or at least it looks that way. I operate on that mentality like, hey, this person is going to come over here. I may not have this person in the studio again, right? So I'm going to have to take advantage of this because I don't know when's the next time I'm going to see this person because schedules sometimes don't always link up the way they need to. So I'm always very conscious of people's time when they're in my studio, and I tried to make the best out of getting the takes that I really, really like, and sometimes just some extra stuff in there just to have fun, because I'm one of those people that the more that you give me, the more that I have to play around with, and the more that I can, do really weird and cool stuff, which I'm also about to show you in a few. I ultimately didn't go with the home studio version of what he laid down because I just thought it could be executed better. It sounded like what I was delivering, but obviously way better because I liked his tone and I felt like he was the correct person to handle that. But we went into Prep Sound Studio and we recorded everything minus my section of the hook. We re-recorded my verses. We re-recorded his hook section. We re-recorded a whole bunch of stuff that this record has. And ultimately, I chose the Prep Sound Studio version of what we came up with. And this is how it goes.
Oh no, me tribe no chatter. Oh no, me at no under. What a bam bam. Even though me eyes my water. Even though me eye my water. What a bam bam. Oh no, me tribe no chatter. Oh no, me at no under. What a bam bam. Even though me eyes my water. Even though me eyes my water.
I do a lot of reductive stuff to my verses nowadays, to any audio that I record. I get rid of the nasty impurities of my records that I don't quite like. So, I add de-esser. I get rid of frequencies that I don't need in my EQ. For this one, I decided to take a lot out of the low end. You don't want those imperfections to be prevalent. You want the things that stand out and that sound good to you to be at the forefront, right? You don't want them to collide with each other. You don't want them in the same space. And at the same time, also, you need to do a lot of reductive EQ because you need certain frequencies to live and breathe. So, your kick and your 808 or your bass, they live in the low end. Your vocals live in the mid. Your hi-hats live in the high frequency. You want to do reductive EQing so that way you have space for these things to breathe. Back to the point of me being somebody who likes multiple takes to mess around with because I never know where they're going to end up. I've been paying attention to a lot of John Bellion records, and the way that he uses his voice as an instrument is super inspirational. And I try to implement that same philosophy or technique in my own way to the records that I make. And I use this really cool plugin called Gross Beat. Let me see if I can pull it up for you guys right now. Gross Beat. And it's an FL Studios exclusive. It takes whatever you're playing and it'll just streamline it, revert it back to a certain timestamp in the recording. So you can make it go forward and backwards. You can make it dip down an octave. You can make DJ sounds with it. This right here are a whole bunch of DJ scratches and backspins and juggles to your beat. They have stutters here if you really want to get special with it. It's a program that I use often to make weird things happen. I took the original recording that BuddhaFlip did here in the home studio, just that way it was different from the cut he laid down in Prep Sound, and I applied the same technique of Gross Beat. Here's how the version of it sounds without anything on it. No plugins, no VSTs, no Gross Beat, nothing at all.
Oh no, me tribe no chatter. Oh no, me at no under. Even though me I my water, even though me I my water.
As you can see here, this says Spade's reverse vocal, which is another name that I call Buddha, so don't be fooled. It says reversal because I did exactly that, right? So I reversed it. Now that is nothing special. It's not in key. It doesn't make sense. It's just a whole bunch of noise, and it doesn't work for the song if you were to play it. Like if I were to do this and leave it where it is, it's really nothing, right? But I reversed it for the purpose of, just messing around and tinkering with things and seeing what would come when I did put gross beat on it and a whole bunch of other different plugins, which I'm going to show you right here. So this is the bus that it has. Obviously, you can see gross beat here. This is the pattern that I use in the new version that I'm about to show you. You put some pitcher on there so that way it's in the right tone and in the right key. You EQ it. You add some delay. You add something that's not popping up right now. You add some fruity chorus to it, which really is just a way for me to make it trippy. It's essentially like a flanger, which here is similar too. So the VSTs are on, and this is how it sounds just by itself, chopped up with the special parts in it. There's a bunch of small things in the song that I added that if you listen to the full record, like you'll be able to see how different it is as it goes through and it transitions. My point in saying that is, once again, I'm somebody who likes to record as much as possible when I have somebody else in the studio and I'm collaborating with people, even if I'm doing it by myself. Reason being, because you never really quite know what you're going to end up using. There's been times where I've made a record and I'm like, oh my God, that sounds horrible. And it doesn't even have to be a vocal recording. It could just be something that you laid down. I tend not to delete anything because oddly enough, I have some use for it later. It just ends up showing itself when it needs to show itself. And it depends on how patient you are, right? So sometimes you just got to see things through and, just have that clarity and that mind frame to know that what you're working on now, if it doesn't reach the full potential that you need it to reach, give it some time. You're going to constantly be learning things. You're going to constantly be evolving. There's other songs that you're going to work on, and you might do something in the other songs like, oh my God, that's so great. I don't understand why I didn't figure that out when I was working on this record. But you know what? Now I can apply it. And also sometimes you form friendships with other artists and you show your work to them and you share, or you share it with your friends who've known you and they have really, really great feedback or ideas that they can add to help you make a record fully what it can become. And I think also at the end of the day, that's another point that I'm trying to drive home: collaboration. Because without Buddha, I wouldn't have been able to make this record exactly what I needed to make it. So shout out to you, bro. I love you. Here's what it sounds like all together.
Although my troubles might run, better do it right by blood. Don't keep your eyes wide shut, never know when die might come. What a bam bam.
Oh no, me tribe no chatter. Oh no, me heart no wonder.
What a bam bam.
Even though me eyes my water, even though me eye my water.
What a bam bam.
Oh no, me tribe no chatter. Oh no, me